keep on adding things, right? It's like everything. And so, how does this function work? It is right over here. Speed calculation function. I already just showed you how it works in a previous episode. Um, Basically, what I do is I reset speed count, the variables, I reset them to 0, then I make a cycle, which I use timestamps, time beginning, time end. Just have to look at it and you'll kind of follow the logic. And it will calculate, it will use the formula that is right over here. Speed formula, 55 because the wheel has 110 millimeters, a perimeter. So it has 2 slots. So divided by 2, that means 55 millimeters times 12, which is the 12 pulses, which is the time interval that I'm using right over here. So it will keep on, this do cycle will keep on counting time right here with this command, the millis command, and storing it on this variable until my photo interrupter count, which uses the interrupting function, hardware of the Arduino, reaches 12. And that is why I use 12 over here. So it's 55 millimeters times the 12 pulses over the elapsed time, which is the time it took to reach those 12 pulses. And that will give me the speed calculation. However, I do sketch the Arduino to do this cycle 5 times and store it in the speed average variable. Later, after the cycle is done, I divide the speed average by 5, right over here, and that will give me the real, well, the average speed count. It's kind of stabilize the numbers a little bit because, you know, these are jumpy motors. This is not a motor that was made for having an encoder. Let's say it like that. Anyway, this is a toy, small toy. Actually, I do have other motors from Arduino kits that are pretty, although they're toys, they're actually pretty precise. And I have episodes working on the GM37 DC motor, which it has a gearbox and it has 2 Hall effect magnetic sensors as an encoder, and that is actually pretty precise. But this is a much lesser type of toy, and it does not, the motor is very jumpy, so the count is not very stable. So this helps a lot. And then I print the values of the speed, average, and total distance, which I calculate, where do I calculate? Over here, which is the total count of the photo interrupter impulses times 55 millimeters from the wheel over 1,000, which gives me the total distance in meters. And that will be printed right over here, as you see down here on the serial monitor. This decimal number, 820 over here, 580, these are the speeds, 310, 320, 345, these are the total distances printed on, and I can be it, and it's right on the command, on the controller, so I don't have to leave the controller to ask for that data to be printed onto the serial monitor. Later, I'll probably have it in a way that to maybe store it. You can store it into the EEPROM, for example. The total distance you can totally. It's probably useful to store it in the EEPROM, and then change screen into a terminal and probably ask for those values back. But that is a different project, maybe for the future. Now, probably the last thing that I haven't explained yet is the interruption function. Now, the interruption function, each time it is activated by the pulse, right over here, I'm going to show you. as you defined it right over here. When you attach the interrupt, you set it to a mode. In this case, falling, for the reasons I already told you. So each time the sensor pulses a 0 signal to the interrupt hardware, which is always listening, you'll probably have to see some videos about that explained by somebody else. There's a lot of good videos on YouTube that explain them in depth, but I'm kind of counting on that you already kind of understand what it is. So each time the interruption function is activated, I will increment by one value two variables. One, which is the photo interrupt count, which is used in the speed calculations, and the other variable, photo interrupt total count, is the one used in the total distance. So the first one I will reset for the speed calculations, as you can see here, each time I begin a new calculation cycle. And the second one is never resetted because I want the total count, because I want the total distance done by the car. And so, yeah, this does it. And as you can see down here on the serial monitor, I started it in more than once. I don't have the rest up, but you can see that these were the values taken. They taken, and you'll see on the video that it works. And although it is just a basis, it is a pretty good platform to do a lot of different things. But I think I can consider complete. The only thing that's missing is for it to touch the floor.